Good morning, I'm Morgan Riley.
Good morning, I'm Brianna Muzinski.
I'm Elena Sarah.
And I'm Ava Duncan. And today we are going to be informing you about anxiety disorders within teens in the U.S. Approximately 32% of teens report to have some type of anxiety disorder. To put that in perspective, 1 in every 3 teens in the U.S. are experiencing this mental health issue. So, what exactly is anxiety? Anxiety is generally defined as the intense, persistent fear of everyday situations. And in the U.S., anxiety rates are higher than ever before, making it a progressive, rising issue to our nation. So, how exactly do environmental factors contribute to anxiety within teens in the U.S.? One important factor is relationships and connections. Negative parenting habits in relation to anxiety. Studies have found a significant connection between parental rejection and control to greater levels of youth anxiety. This chart by the Lifetime Development Program reviews and addresses parental habits and youth behaviors. As you can see, those with strict authoritative parents are more likely to have social skill issues and trouble trusting others. And those who have absent or uninvolved parents have trouble feeling good about themselves and trusting others as well, which is a form of social anxiety. Genetics in relation to developing anxiety. Although anxiety is highly influenced by environmental factors, genetics also play a role and need to be taken into consideration. In the chart, we see that this is not always the case, but in relation to the quote, children who get the anxiety gene are 7 times more likely to develop anxiety compared to their peers who do not have the anxiety gene from their parents. Divorce. Divorce is extremely common in the US. Approximately 50% of married couples that have children get a divorce. The quote, anxiety in teens proven to be more common in those households with divorced parents from the Science Direct is a key factor about anxiety commonly rooting from parental divorce.
Back to what Ava said about genetics. The way that a teen's guardian handles the structure of parenting can impact levels of anxiety as well. From typical anxiety to social anxiety, how teenagers socialize outside of the house can closely compare and reflect to their family's mannerisms. Receiving an aggressive parenting style as a teen might increase a short-tempered, negative mindset, whereas a more laid-back at-home environment would increase positive outlooks and a decrease in stress levels. Friends. While a main source of teens' connections are through a family base, their relationship with their friends is incredibly crucial as well. Some might have heard of the joking term, FOMO, fear of missing out, as they say, and it can actually impact teens more than it seems. Dr. Vogel, in a Forbes article above, states, when we feel as if we are part of a community and others approve of us, we feel better about ourselves. When we do not get that sense of community approval, we feel worse about ourselves. Including themselves in groups that aren't equally inclusive can be harmful to anyone's mental health. Teens specifically are always looking for reassurance in weak friendships, and if not received, could alter their social anxiety.
Anxiety in sports. The 2 aspects of anxiety are anxiety before the performance and anxiety due to the situation. There are 2 distinct aspects of anxiety. One aspect emanates towards trait anxiety, which is traits you are born with. For example, a person may have anxiety to throw up before an important competition. A second form of anxiety is related to the state, which is situational specific. For example, a person may feel anxiety when they are shooting free throws during a clutch moment in basketball. Related to these aspects, there are also 2 mechanisms that are identified as somatic, which are physical feelings, and cognitive, which is mental anxiety. Performers can suffer with both types of mechanisms or predominantly from one over the other. And as this chart shows, it shows that your stress in your sport can lead to different aspects like in performance, the stress response, and stress management. So due to the high amount of injuries, anxiety can play a role in the overall performance. So as we can see here, the number of injuries among athletes 19 and under, the highest ones are from football and basketball. And these can lead to athletes being more injured. A contributing factor may be study design. We measured trait anxiety at baseline before the start of the sports season and state anxiety after the athlete recovered from their injury. Moreover, approximately 50% of athletes were freshmen at baseline, which may have contributed to the higher levels of trait anxiety. Another possible explanation for injured athletes having less state anxiety may be their satisfaction with the social support during the injury. So as this chart shows, it shows that if you have a stronger support system, you are likely to recover from your injury quicker. Whereas Morgan said, if you have a more aggressive parenting style, it increases levels of anxiety. So for coaches can impact players' anxiety because of the amount of stress and pressure that coaches put on their players. So the athletes are likely to not recover quickly from their injuries due to their coaches.
Furthermore, anxiety can impact a student's education. As shown from this chart by the 74, 73% of students feel stressed at least some of the time or more. This rate only continues to increase after high school. Researchers, teachers, and parents are becoming aware of this issue and its roots. To continue, it is important to analyze what about school causes these increases in anxiety. Over the years, there's been a dramatic increase in the amount of standardized tests required. As reported in the research by Peter Steams of George Mason University, the sense of getting into a good college was difficult, and at the same time, a sense of personal worth spread widely. Students felt that they had to follow their anxieties to over-prepare and get ahead. Social anxiety is an epidemic problem for today's youth. This data provided by Plus One correlates with the ages that most people attend school. A normal school setting provides many social encounters that can pose an issue for some students. Students often feel that they cannot relate to or connect with their peers, often creating isolation. Students report feelings of worthlessness as if they are not good enough. In addition to tests and social anxiety, many students face the fear of deadlines. Although it's important for students to learn the importance of time management and other factors, as anxiety researcher Olivia Yin states, missing out on school social or sports events are all factors students feel they cannot participate in due to their high levels of anxiety.
Shown above is the list of various prime examples on the hunt to decrease anxiety attributes. Making trusting relationships. Being able to feel comfortable while feeling knowledgeable about loyal peers can improve your anxiety. Easier access to help or therapy. Having a more simple approach to assistance will increase the amount of people helped. Lastly, medication, which is a much more direct way of decreasing anxiety. To follow up with these three solutions, limiting this is the fact that there's not a 100% cure to anxiety overall, but these three can definitely reduce it. Thank you. Any questions?
We're going to start on this end. Reflecting on your colleagues' works, any of them, which one had the greatest impact of your overall understanding of the problem your group identified?
I'd say that both Ava and Morgan's research on connections such as family and friends had the greatest impact on my research of school, because having a support system at home is an important factor to reducing your anxiety, as well as being able to rely on others and not believing that it's all on you.
Okay. Next up. What's a way in which your team's solution makes you think differently about your own work, Morgan?
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating?
Sure. What's a way in which your team's solution that you came up with makes you think differently about the work you conducted?
It makes me think differently because of the people you're surrounding yourself with, such as making trusting relationships as one of our solutions, has a big impact on my topic, family and friends, relationships in general, because you would love to surround yourself with people who you can trust and feel comfortable with.
All right, next up. Ava, if you had another team member, what perspective or limitation could they have reached that would have made a useful contribution to this project?
I think we could add like romantic relationships in relation to anxiety, because I think that has a huge effect on anxiety itself. If to someone's mental state, anxiety can be progressive based on romantic relationships.
All right. And last one. Brianna, how did the group decide to include, let's go, Morgan's perspective into the overall presentation?
Can you repeat? the
Sure.
question?
How did your group decide to use Morgan's perspective in your presentation?
So we decided to use her perspective because we really thought that it was one of the major aspects that contributed to anxiety, because family is one of the biggest things that can either cause or cure anxiety.